Ba in my corona time, ba. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Thtman.x, and as you see, I'm back with another reaction video of the day. Reacted to Tagovailoa career is over. Sad to say, man. Let's just say my Pittsburgh Steelers gave him that belt. Gave him that belt. Gave him that belt. Put the belt. Whooped him. Whooped him. Bro had like 65 passing yards in the third quarter. Can't start turning up to garbage time, man. Hey, man. Tua Tagovailoa career might be over, man. I've seen they put him at that third string position. Damn. They're giving the new guys a try, man. They're giving the other guys a try, man. Damn, Tua. I watched it from the beginning, man. You went through a lot in your NFL career, man. But guess what? You made a lot of money. You hear me? You made a lot of money, Tua Tagovailoa. But hey, man. Let's get into the video. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Tua Tagovailoa.
I've seen enough from Tua this year.
Right.
I don't know what his future is going to hold when it comes to contract and all that. You win a lot of games. When Tua's on, you can win a lot of games with him. He's played MVP level football. He can't be a guy that leads the NFL in giveaways at 15 interceptions this year.
Imagine a brand new boss coming into your job, sitting you down, and then showing you a 700 play highlight tape. 700 plays that he personally put together just to prove how good you really are at your job after your confidence was shattered by your previous boss. That's the type of relationship that Tua and Mike McDaniel used to have. McDaniel wasn't just Tua's coach. He was his biggest supporter, his protector, the guy who defended him when the entire world was saying that he wasn't good enough. But you fast forward to December of 2025 and everything has changed. After the Dolphins got eliminated from playoff contention following that brutal Monday Night Football off the Steelers, the reporter asked McDaniel if he would consider benching Tua. And McDaniel's response?
Are you considering a quarterback change this week?
Well, I think the quarterback play last night was not good enough, and so for me,
that's why when you come to when you come into Pittsburgh, bruh. That's why when we walk into Heinz Field. I don't even think that's the name anymore, but that's why when we walk into Heinz Field. That's why when you see that steel curtain, that's what happens. We in careers, bro. We in careers, bro. We in careers, bro. Jared Goff, you next, bro. Jared Goff, you next. You next. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh.
Everything's on the table.
Then he dropped the bombshell.
Well, I think that you know, we're in the process of game planning for the Cincinnati Bengals. So in that process, we're trying to determine who will give us the best chance to win, and I'll probably give you more clarity on.
I'm about to say it makes sense, bro. Their season over, so might as well give the other guys a try.
Removed from the game.
Guys, let that sink
2 games
in.
each.
This is the same Mike McDaniel who once told critics who said Tua was just a product of his system this.
Maybe even many quarterbacks would excel, would flourish, would be near the top of the passer rater leading MVP candidate. What, if any, pushback is there relative to, wait, no, hold on. Tua is a little different.
Let's push this podium over. My answer to that would be who the F cares, because it is a team. We're working together.
So how did we get here? How did the coach who built his entire offense around Tua, who went to war for him publicly, who helped transform him from a broken quarterback into an MVP candidate, end up publicly questioning whether he's even the guy anymore?
That's how it's supposed to be, man.
That's what we're breaking down today. The complete rise and fall of Mike McDaniel and Tua's relationship. And trust me, this story has everything. A toxic coach who destroyed Tua's confidence before McDaniel even got there, a franchise quarterback throwing his own teammates under the bus on national TV, a general manager getting fired, and a $212 million contract that might have ruined everything. But the relationship falling apart is so devastating.
But it's the Dolphins, though. They was never good.
Meaning, we gotta talk about Brian Flores. So real quick, before we get to the content, just a brief announcement. So PrizePicks is bringing back their free square you can make from one play. And bro, free square to turn my McDaniel and Tua relationship was so special, you gotta understand just how bad things were before. When the Dolphins drafted Tua 5th overall in 2020, everybody thought they had their guy. I mean, this was the same quarterback who won a national championship at Alabama. The same guy Nick Saban trusted to lead one of the most talented college teams of all time. I mean, there were tank for Tua campaigns going on the year before for the Miami Dolphins. Tua was supposed to be the man there. But from day one in Miami, something was off. Head coach Brian Flores did not roll out the red carpet. Even though Miami used a top 5 pick on Tua, Flores still wouldn't commit to him as the starter. He went with Ryan Fitzpatrick to open the season. Then,
I remember
even after Tua got the starting job, Flores benched him twice during that rookie season in favor of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Think about the message that sends to a young QB. You're the 5th overall pick. You're supposed to be the future of this franchise, and your coach keeps yanking you for a journeyman backup. But here's where it gets really ugly. In 2021, Flores spent the entire offseason trying to replace Tua with Deshaun Watson. They weren't even trying to hide it. I remember making videos on this topic. The Dolphins were aggressively pursuing Watson while Tua was supposed to be their franchise quarterback. Can you imagine how that feels? Your own coach is out there telling the world he doesn't believe in you. And it wasn't just the Watson stuff. Last summer, Tua finally opened up about what it really felt like playing for Brian Flores. He went on the Dan Le Batard show and he said this.
If you woke up every morning and I told you, you suck at what you did, this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, you are the best fit for this, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You start to actually believe that. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you that you probably shouldn't be hearing, you're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening.
That's brutal right there. Tua literally called Brian Flores a terrible person on a national podcast. He said it took him 2 full years under Mike McDaniel to train that negative thinking out of himself. That's how deep the damage went. The guy who was supposed to be developing Tua's confidence was actually destroying it.
Yeah, that's not how you go about it, man. Bad coaching.
By the time that Brian Flores got fired by the 2021 season, Tua was a broken quarterback. His confidence was shattered. He was literally asking himself, do I suck? And that's where Mike McDaniel came in. Now this is where the story...
Nah, man, you don't suck, bro. You're an NFL quarterback, gang. You are an NFL quarterback, bro. You are great, Tua.
Gets good. When the Dolphins hired Mike McDaniel in February of 2022, the first thing people wanted to know was, what is he going to do with Tua? And Mike McDaniel's answer from day one was crystal clear. He believed in Tua. The story of their first interaction is legendary at this point. McDaniel called Tua right after getting the job, and Tua happened to be on a golf course. And instead of telling him to come in immediately, McDaniel just said, nah, dude, go enjoy. Don't think about anything else. Go golf. Tua later said that moment was the first time he felt like he didn't have to act a certain way around a head coach. That's when he knew things were going to be different. But Mike McDaniel didn't stop there. Once they finally got together in the same building that offseason, McDaniel did something that nobody expected. He sat Tua down and showed him a highlight tape. Not just any highlight tape, a 700 play highlight tape that McDaniel personally put together of Tua's best moments as a passer. 700 plays! Think about the time and effort that takes. McDaniel later explained what he did. He said getting beat up
Mike
having
McDaniel,
your existence being completely tainted by people saying you are X, Y, or Z, and felt like he was put behind the 8 ball. Basically, his strengths he couldn't play to. McDaniel knew the damage had been done, and his job was to rebuild this kid from the ground up. According to CBS, Tua would reportedly look himself in the mirror and ask himself, do I suck? He genuinely didn't know if he belonged in the NFL because he was so beaten down by the fans and his own coaches. That 700 play tape was McDaniel's way of showing Tua, bro, you're good. Here's the proof. I believe in you. And over time, Tua started believing in himself too.
Good.
And man,
coach, bro.
The transformation was almost immediate.
And that's how you do it, bro. Like, that's how you do it, bro. I'm telling you, gang, like, when I gain my confidence, bro, or when any football player gains their confidence, bro, they move freely, bro. They don't walk on eggshells, gang. It feels beautiful to have your confidence as a player, bro. So shout out to Mike McDaniel, bro. Shout out to Mike McDaniel for going out your way to put 700. Like, you could have did, like, 30 plays. That would have been a lot. But 700 plays, bro. You took time and day, and I could think as a player, like, bro, he really did this for me, bro. He went play by play, found all these good plays to put together. It took time, bro. That make me like, damn, bro, this man really cares, bro. Shout out to Mike McDaniel, bro.
In 2022,
That's
Tua
love,
went
bro.
from a broken shell of a quarterback to an MVP candidate. The Dolphins tied a franchise record by scoring 30-plus points in 4 consecutive games. Tua was throwing dimes, his timing was perfect, and more importantly, you could see his personality coming out on the sidelines. McDaniel had built an entire offense around what Tua did best, which was throw with accuracy and anticipation. They brought in Tyreek Hill to pair with Jalen Waddle, and suddenly Miami had one of the most explosive passing attacks in the NFL. There was a moment captured on Inside the NFL where McDaniel was teasing Tua on the sideline during a blowout win. He told Tua he had watched his high school highlights and said,
"And bro, your technique was trash."
And Tua just laughed. That's the kind of relationship that they had built. McDaniel could clown him because Tua knew it came from a place of love and respect. Let me give you the numbers real quick. In 2022, Tua finished with 2,564 yards, 19 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions in the games he played. The Dolphins made the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Then 2023 was even better. Tua led the entire NFL with 4,624 passing yards.
I did not know that.
Let me say that again. He led the entire league. He was an MVP candidate. He threw 29 touchdowns.
I did not know that.
Pro Bowl. And the Dolphins won 11 games, making the playoffs for the 2nd straight year. This wasn't an accident. McDaniel's system was perfect for Tua. The quick throws, the motion, the misdirection, it all played to his strengths. And McDaniel defended him at every turn. When critics said that Tua was just a system QB, McDaniel said this.
My answer to that would be, who the F cares? I've coached stuff.
I did not know he went that crazy,
I
bro.
haven't seen people do what our guys do.
That's your head coach going to war for you on national television. When Tua signed his massive 4-year, $212 million extension in the summer of 2024, he specifically credited Mike McDaniel for believing in him when nobody else did. So what happened? How do we go from an MVP candidate in the playoffs to this?
We're in the process of game planning for the Cincinnati Bengals. In that process, we're trying to determine who will give us the best chance to win.
The 2025 season has been an absolute nightmare for the Miami Dolphins. They started the year getting blown out 33-8 by the Colts. Then they lost to the Patriots.
Shut up, Pittsburgh.
Home. The Panthers, the Chargers, the Browns destroyed them. At one point, they were 2-7, the lowest point since 2021. And Tua, the guy who led the league in passing just 2 years ago, he's having the worst season of his career by far. His passer rating dropped from over 100 in each of McDaniel's first 3 seasons down to 86.4 this year. He's thrown 18 touchdowns to 14 interceptions.
Damn.
At one point, he was leading the entire NFL in turnovers with 14 combined interceptions and fumbles lost. The confidence that McDaniel spent years building back up, it looks completely gone again. Tua's not pushing the ball downfield. He's hesitating on throws. He's making mistakes at the worst possible times. 2 of the Dolphins' early losses came directly from late game Tua interceptions. That's the kind of stuff that changes the entire momentum of a season. Now, the defense has been terrible too. At one point, they ranked 30th in yards allowed per play. But here's the thing: when you're paying your
You wanna know how bad a team is to where you get blown out by the Steelers. Like, we don't really blow out teams unless they're horrible game. Shout out Pittsburgh.
quarterback $53 million a year, he's supposed to overcome those problems. He's supposed to elevate everyone around him. And
Great day to
Tua
watch
just
football,
hasn't
man.
been able to do that. But here's where things got really ugly between Mike McDaniel and Tua. So after the Dolphins lost to the Chargers 29-27 in Week 6, dropping them down to 1-5, Tua went to the podium and did something you almost never see a franchise quarterback do. He called out his own teammates.
We have guys showing up to player-only meetings late, guys not showing up to player-only meetings. Like,
now, on one hand, you might be thinking,
but Mike, Tua's just trying to hold people accountable. He's just trying to be a leader.
but that is not how you do it, bro. That is not how any successful quarterback in NFL history has ever done it. And Tua started getting torched.
He only talks about what other players do. He never says me. He talked about it started with leadership and then said all the things that the people aren't doing correctly. Well, we're aren't you doing? It all starts with the head. It all starts with the guy that calls the shots.
And here's the key
Right.
moment. The moment where you could tell the relationship between McDaniel and Tua had fundamentally changed. When reporters asked McDaniel about Tua's comments the next day, he didn't defend him. For the first time, McDaniel publicly disagreed with his quarterback.
We've been very accountable. To me, it sounds like there was something on his mind with regard to the specific meetings with a couple individuals that he was trying to get corrected with direct communication.
That's not how a coach talks about a player he's fully committed to. That's a coach creating distance. That's a coach who's starting to question whether this guy can actually lead his team. Remember, this is the same Mike McDaniel who used to tell critics to F off when they questioned Tua. Now he's the one calling Tua's judgment into question. Tua did apologize. Came out a few days later and said,
I've made a mistake and I'm owning up to that right now. You know, I've talked to guys on the team about it, talked to the leaders about it. They know my heart. I let the emotions of the game get to me after the game. And, you know, that's something that I can learn from as a leader on this team. And what happens in-house should be protected. And none of that should have gotten out.
But the damage was already done. Multiple teammates declined to comment when asked about it, which tells you everything you need to know about how that went over in the locker room. Then came the bombshell that really shook this franchise. On October 31st, right after the Dolphins got destroyed by the Ravens 28-6 on Thursday Night Football, Stephen Ross would pull the trigger. He fired their general manager, Chris Grier. Grier had been with the organization for 26 years. He'd been the GM since 2016. This was the guy who drafted Tua, who traded for Tyreek Hill, who built this entire roster. Gone. Reports came out that Grier wanted to tear down the roster and rebuild, but Ross wasn't interested in tanking. He wanted to keep trying to win. Here's the interesting part though. McDaniel kept his job. Despite the 2-7 start, despite being the betting favorite to be the next head coach fired, Ross reportedly still believes in McDaniel and wants him to be the coach moving forward. Which means if anyone's getting blamed for this disaster, it's gonna be Tua.
Right.
Now, in fairness, after hitting rock bottom at 2-7, the Dolphins actually did turn things around for a bit. They went on a 4-game winning streak. They beat the Bills in a shocking blowout, the Saints, the Jets, even Washington in that crazy game in Madrid. Suddenly, they were 6-7, and technically still.
And they got the Bills! Now they 6 Now they 6-8. Man, I love my damn team. Love those guys, man. Damn, I love those guys, man.
Playoff hunt. Devon Achane was running wild. The defense was making plays. It looked like maybe, just maybe, this team could salvage something. But then came Monday Night Football against the Steelers. A must.
Come on, give me that bell. I'm gonna give me that bell. Come on, give me that bell. Still your number one. Still you number one. Still you number one. Get them doubles that bell.
Win game in cold
Let's
weather.
get it!
Tua threw for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Huh?
In
250?
cold weather. And
he got that much?
Tua threw for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. But
really? He caught up that much? He was torching us in the fourth quarter, though.
Here's the thing. Most of that came in garbage time when the Dolphins were already down 28-3. When the game was actually competitive, Tua was terrible. On 7 third-down dropbacks, he completed just 2 passes. He got sacked 3 times and scrambled once for a single yard. And here's the stat that really puts it into perspective. Tua is now 0-6 in his career in games where the temperature is 40 degrees or below at kickoff. The Dolphins as a franchise have lost 14 straight games in that kind of weather. This is a fundamental problem that McDaniel and the Dolphins
playoff
can't
time.
solve. When the conditions get tough, Tua can't get it done, which brings us up to that post-game press conference after the Steelers lost, the one where Mike McDaniel said this.
The quarterback play last night was not good enough.
Reporters then asked if he would consider benching Tua for Zach Wilson or rookie Quinn Ewers, and he said this.
Yeah, I think it would be very rash and short-sighted.
That's not a no, and that's not a Tua is my guy no matter what. That's a coach who's leaving the door open. Ian Rappaport reported that Tua is, quote, playing to keep his job, and that benching him was not off the table. Tom Pelissaro tweeted that McDaniel said everything is on the table regarding a potential QB change, with more clarity coming later on in the week. Compare that to the Mike McDaniel from 2 years ago. The guy who cursed out reporters for questioning Tua. The guy who said, I haven't seen people do what our guys do. That guy is gone. In his place is a coach who sounds like he's done making excuses for his quarterback. Now I actually have to stop right there because while I was putting this video
accepting his
together,
fate, man.
Mike McDaniel actually followed through. On Wednesday, just one day after saying everything was on the table, the Miami Dolphins officially announced that they're benching Tua.
Dang!
They've been going with Zach Wilson.
That's what that Steelers do. Ooh, that's what them Steelers do. Hopefully Tua find his job though. He might come back as a starter next year though.
Against the Bengals this Sunday. Think about that for a second. The guy making $53 million a year, the guy they just gave $212 million to be their franchise quarterback, is getting benched for a 7th round pick.
Yep.
Tom Pelissero reported it perfectly by saying Tua's time is up. The Dolphins are benching QB Tua and will start rookie Quinn Ewers on Sunday, sources tell the insiders. Tua is still due $54 million guaranteed in 2026, but his future in Miami is now clearly up in the air. The craziest part about this is right when
we don't think he's gonna go.
Tua's number one
I got him
wide
going to the
receiver,
Jets.
Tyreek Hill, posted this GIF onto X. Literally just a peace sign emoji with the GIF of a guy flashing the peace sign and then disappearing. Now, we don't know if Tyreek is saying he's gone like
nah, he's definitely gone. Come to Pittsburgh.
Waving goodbye to Tua, but either way, that's his teammate. That's supposed to be his guy. We remember how much Tyreek Hill was defending Tua when he originally got traded to the
Nah, he went there and I remember he was saying Tua better than Pat Mahomes. He didn't believe that.
Dolphins, and how he's reacting like this. So everything I'm about to break down about the contract and what comes next, it just got a whole lot more real. Mike McDaniel didn't just talk about benching Tua, he actually did it. Can the Dolphins even move on from Tua if they wanted to? The answer is, it's complicated and expensive. Really expensive. Tua's contract is structured in a way that makes cutting him almost impossible before the 2027 season. If the Dolphins release him this offseason, they would take on $99.2 million in dead cap. That would be an NFL record by almost double. Russell Wilson's $53 million dead cap hit when Denver cut him was the previous record. Even if they designated him as a post-June 1st cut, they'd still be looking at $67.4 million in dead and another $31.8 million in 2027. That's close to $100 million to not have a quarterback. Tua is owed $54 million fully guaranteed in 2026. That money is going to hit the cap no matter what, whether he's playing for Miami, playing somewhere else, or just sitting on his couch. The most realistic option according to Rap Sheet would be for Miami to pay down some of Tua's salary and trade him as a bridge quarterback to a team in transition. Some team that needs a competent starter while they develop a young guy. Think about teams like Cleveland or Las Vegas, for example. Would any team take on Tua's contract if Miami ate some of the money? Maybe, but a pre-June 1st trade would still leave $45.2 million in dead cap on Miami's books. The cleanest out for Miami comes after the 2026 season. At that point, a post-June 1st release would result in $34.8 million in dead cap, which is manageable, but that means they're stuck with Tua for at least one more year. The question is, does McDaniel even want to tie his future to a quarterback he's clearly losing faith in? So if Miami does decide to move on, what are their options? Well, let me break it down. In the 2026 NFL draft, there are some interesting quarterback prospects. Multiple mock drafts have projected the Dolphins to take a QB early. Names like Fernando Mendoza from Indiana or Dante Moore from Oregon, who's been one of the biggest risers of the college football season with his arm talent and mobility. There's also Lenoris Sellers from South Carolina. This kid is a physical specimen, 6'3", 242 pounds with elite arm strength and running back mobility. He reminds people of either the ceiling of Cam Newton or the floor of Anthony Richardson.
That's what I was thinking.
The contrast to Tua would be stark. Where Tua lacks mobility and arm strength, Sellers has both in abundance. On the cheaper end, there are some cost-effective veteran options. Mac Jones has had a revival year in San Francisco and would only cost about $4.7 million in 2026 plus a draft pick. This would be the dream scenario for the Dolphins because Mike McDaniel comes from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. Both run very similar offenses. Mac Jones would actually thrive running the Miami Dolphins offense, and plus it'd be freaking hilarious because he used to back up Tua in Alabama. Marcus Mariota is still out there. Davis Mills could potentially be had from Houston.
David Mills.
These wouldn't be franchise-changing moves, but they'd give Miami flexibility while they figure out the long-term answer. The most likely scenario is that both McDaniel and Tua return in 2026 because because of the contract situation. Even Rap Sheet reported that they're...
Or even take Mason Rudolph as get him out of Pittsburgh. Get Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is on the board. Mason Rudolph is on the board. We got him back from when we sent him to Tennessee. That after 2023, he must have been smoking hella trees. That's a bar. Get Mason Rudolph out of there. He makes it really hard to watch him.
Futures are tied together, saying if Mike McDaniel stays, there's a much better chance that Tua, his quarterback, is the quarterback next year as well. But just because they're stuck together doesn't mean they're happy about it. Look, I'm not saying that Mike McDaniel hates Tua. I don't think it's that simple. But the dynamic between them has fundamentally shifted. This isn't the same coach who made a 700-play highlight tape to rebuild his quarterback's confidence.
Right.
This is a coach who's frustrated. A coach who's been publicly embarrassed by his quarterback's decision-making, both on and off the field. A coach for the first time who isn't willing to go to war for Tua anymore. And Tua, the guy who once said he never had a coach like McDaniel, the guy who credited McDaniel with saving his career, he's thrown his teammates under the bus, he's struggling on the field, and now his own coach is saying that everything's on the table.
But how much longer can he defend you when you're not producing, man?
Together because of a contract, waiting to see who gets blamed when it all falls apart. The Dolphins haven't won.
Eddie, I think Tua scammed them.
That's 25 years of heartbreak for this fan base. And the guy they paid $212 million to end that drought is now fighting to keep his job. Mike McDaniel used to be Tua's biggest defender. Now he might be the one who finally pulls the plug. That's the story of Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa's partnership. A relationship that started with so much promise, so much belief, and is ending in doubt.
Hey, who y'all think scammed their team the most? Deshaun Watson or Tua Tagovailoa? We don't even know. We don't even know. But yeah, though, man, free Tua, man. Tua going through a lot right now, man. He probably back thinking like, you don't know what to do with his career. He was in a place to where he had all them concussions and he was tweaking. But now he lost his spot. Now it's a rookie playing behind him and stuff. I think he is going. I think they're going to re-sign him this year. No, not re-sign him. I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to start a little bit next year, and then if he plays bad, then he's going to lose his spot mid-season. But I think he's going to come back though. They spent too much money on him, man. They spent way too much money on him. But hey, man, hey, if y'all don't want Tua, send Tua over here to back up. Take Mason Rudolph. Y'all can have him. Nah. Don't give us Mason. I mean, don't give us Tua either. Tua, he's no better than Mason. Both were them hijabs. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Free Tua.